can't tell them to bullshit it.
Hi, my name's George.
Hi, my name is Amanda.
Hi, my name is Asmaa El Benni.
Hi, I'm Zoe.
Hi, I'm Elliott Lehrer.
Hi, I'm Celinie. Now what now?
I'm hoping to concentrate in English.
I'm a very undecided concentrator.
I'm thinking about concentrating in classics and IR, or development studies, so working it out.
I'm an applied math concentrator.
I'm going to be concentrating in math or physics here at Brown University.
So with intended concentration, Brown isn't expecting you to have a set major, and so you just really want to throw out a liberal concentration and talk about specific courses that interest you within that major.
They want really to get a better interest of, number one, do you know what you're trying to get out of your learning in Brown? And number two, what are you really interested in as a student?
I actually talked about my experience I've had with physics in the past because I said I was planning on being a physics concentrator, as well as talking about how physics gives me the tools to think about the world in ways that other concentrations probably wouldn't. So for your concentration, you can talk about not only why you got exposed to that concentration, why you like it, but also how you plan on using it in your future.
Combine 3 or 4 concentrations into your own concentration. They like that because it shows initiative.
Don't repeat. If you have something that you already talked about in your essay, which is very possible considering it's theoretically one of your core interests, don't harp on it. They already know about it. So for example, in my comment app, I already had written about classics, so I only spent 1 sentence on it. And I also tried to work in about Brown specifically, why I needed to study Middle Eastern studies and classics at Brown, as opposed to anywhere else.
I don't know, it's hard to talk about essays because I had a really good college application life experience.
I think one of the most important things about this prompt is that you have to be concise, but you have to be creative at the same time. Brown doesn't expect you to answer this as if it was a survey question, so don't just say like, oh, I'm from this city. Elaborate a bit on that and make it a bit more personal. For example, I said that I'm from Quincy and I mentioned how my entire family was there so that I had those connections growing up. And I emphasized a lot on my family. I didn't make it much of a geographic answer, I made it more of a personal, familiar answer.
I come from Westchester and I didn't have a super interesting story about where I've lived. I've lived in the same place my whole life. Just remember that this part of the application is just like any other part of the application in that they want to know more about you in what you're bringing to campus, in the diversity you bring, and in the perspective you bring.
I was very systematic about mentioning which places I went to, but the important thing was mention the connections and how each place has impacted me. So don't just say about where you were, talk about how it's formed the person that you are today.
But you can also think outside the box. So I had to own my kitchen because I spent a lot of time in there. I would cook in there for my friends. I would have these great conversations in there with my family, and I would spend all night studying in there. So it allowed me to show a different dimension of my life, and it allowed to show me kind of how I would interact with people and how I learned, which hadn't been shown yet on my application.
I actually took it probably a different route than some people took it. I talked about where I've moved as a person. So in terms of how I used to interact with people, how I used to communicate ideas, I completely had a shift there.
So for the why Brown question, I would definitely say do your research. I actually did not talk about the open curriculum at all in my question. I mentioned I did research on the programs that were related to the major that I was applying for and any extracurriculars I thought would benefit me, and I made an entire question just based around my major.
You don't want to say that this is why you're choosing Brown because it's a unique factor. Be sure to elaborate on why this type of policy would work for you.
I would definitely say the most important thing that you can do is just to do your research. And by be specific, I mean focus on specific courses, focus on specific professors, focus on specific floors of the silo. Also, make sure to check out Brown's website, specific departmental websites in particular, because they have lots of current events. A great resource for finding out things in general about specific departments in Brown is Focal Point.
Another thing you can do is look up some initiatives that were taken up on Brown's campus. For example, in my supplement, I talked about how the student body president took up the initiative to put tampons in all the bathrooms regardless of gender identity. And I talked about why I wanted to be part of a community that was so inclusive.
When you're drafting ideas for the community essay, a few points or questions that you should ask yourself would probably be, has this impacted me? Do I feel like I'll continue to engage with this group after I leave for college or like at some point in my life?
For the question about the community, I wrote about my small religious non-profit private school. So my graduating class was only around 12 people, and the school struggled with budgeting issues or organization. I'd say that if you also graduated from a similar school or had a similar background, definitely include it, because it's not an experience that many people have.
I actually used it as an opportunity to expand on one of my clubs. I talked about my esports club from high school, actually. You can use communities like esports to show communities that you thrive in, that you enjoy building, that you like being the leader of, so that Brown understands how well you would fit with Brown's community. So ideally, you'd want to show that a community you've been a part of in the past is going to have a lot of similar characteristics to ones that Brown has, so that they know you'll do well here. For the prompt that asks about, tell us about a concept that you find difficult or rewarding to learn, I actually talked about research experience I had over the summer between my 11th and 12th grade years. Because what Brown is really looking for here is you to demonstrate your passion for and ability to learn. Because at Brown, just like every other top tier university, we're looking for people who not only are curious to go to their classes every day and learn whatever's going on there, but we want people who are also interested in learning outside the classroom. Be it in conversations with your professors, conversations with other students, going to library to find out other things, doing research projects. So this is an opportunity that if you do those things in high school, which ideally you've done something along that track, is that show that you're ready to do those sorts of activities at Brown.
I'm just
Yeah.
Plebe.
Yeah.
Did you just call me Plebe? I'm here to talk about the Plebe essay questions. Everyone talks about stereotypical, I want to help people, but you can help people in different ways. You want to have a balance between your extracurriculars and how you talk about them. They want to know that you've explored other areas so that you're sure you want to be a doctor, because this is an 8-year program and you have to be committed. And the special thing about PLME is that you're reviewed by both the medical school board and the undergraduate, so you want to show a humanistic side of you that knows social science in addition to medicine. Doctors should be empathetic and caring. They don't want you to be strictly book smart. So they want you to show interest in liberal arts and sciences. Like, for example, I talked about my science fair project that focused on global health issues that also had a tie-in with social effects of those issues. And you should also talk about different concentrations that Brown offers and specific courses, so they know that you have invested in the PLME program. Because not everyone has the opportunity to research in the lab. Like, I researched in the back of my high school classroom, and so you just want to push how you have interest in these things and how you plan to act on them.
Okay, any other questions?
What's the bug?
George is gonna yell at me for not being concise.
It's fine, don't worry.
Yell at
Talk
me.
about, let's think.
Balance.
It's
Okay. Ah!
What are you doing?
I have breaking news.
What?
Yeah, it's good.
Justin and Celinie are officially back together.
I
That was
guess.
good. I like that.
Thank you.